welcome to Spiritual Invitation. I'm your host, Carla Augustyn, inviting you to explore spirituality. Joining me today is Dr. Valerie Keating, and she's here to talk to us about past life regression therapy and how it can help us to heal. Now, a little bit about Dr. Keating. She is a licensed therapist with both a master's and doctoral degree in clinical and health psychology. She's worked for over 25 years as a practitioner and consultant in colleges, hospitals, mental health centers, and private practice. Valerie blends traditional theories and techniques from numerous psychology disciplines with her expert knowledge of complementary areas, including psycho-spiritual psychology, energy medicine, and what she calls heart and soul therapy. Valerie, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. It's great to finally meet you too. Now, before we get going on everything, I want to comment that I was reading on your website, and you've studied with some really big name people. I mean, Brian Weiss, Dolores Cannon, they are like legends when it comes to past life regression therapy. That must have been fun for you.
It was fabulous, and they're fabulous people. And Dolores Cannon passed away last year, 2014, but wonderful to study her method. And Brian Weiss is still out there
doing
going
his thing
all over the world, and he is a lovely man, and he's so wise and kind and generous. I can't say enough about him. He and his wife have just been so wonderful for my career as well as personally. Just lovely people. And we're all lucky to have them and have them still working so much in the world.
Yeah, well, I'm happy for you that you got to study with them. Yeah,
great.
So tell us, how'd you get going on your spiritual journey?
Well, I've always been a curious person, even when I was really small, and I always wondered why people do the things they do and make the choices they make or treat people the way they do. And so that led to a career in psychology, but I got a lot of answers along the way. You know, I learned a lot about human behavior and things like that, but I really always had more curiosity that wasn't satisfied. Like, what are we all doing here? What's the purpose of this existence? And just deeper things, deeper feelings, deeper thoughts about the everyday that went beyond that for me. So I started to read a lot and attend a lot of conferences and study, and that really opened it up for me.
So what is past life regression therapy?
Well, it's just a technique, and it usually utilizes hypnotherapy, hypnosis, to guide you back into a part of your experience, really different levels of consciousness, to access different memories, content, themes, metaphors, things like that.
Okay, so it is a type of hypnosis. The person goes under hypnosis, and then they're accessing information from within that?
Yes. I mean, you can access your past lives without another person. You can just practice and you learn how to alter your own state of mind, just like as if you were dreaming or something like that, relaxing.
Okay, now what's the purpose of it?
Well, people do it for different reasons. Sometimes people are just curious and they want to have that experience and know what that's like. And other times people have issues that they want to address, like sometimes it's pain, physical or emotional. Sometimes it can be an addiction or anxiety or just a conflictual relationship, someone they're having trouble with, and they want to. And sometimes it's people don't really know where this stuff is coming from, and they can't really put a finger on if it happened in this lifetime or not. And so they want to know, did it happen at another time to me when I was someone else?
So people are feeling like a real experience, and they're trying to figure out or tap into that a little bit or understand it a little bit more. Okay. All right, now walk us through a session. What can people expect if they were to go to a practitioner? What would happen during a session?
Well, of course, different therapists do different things.
Sure.
You know, and they have different offices and different locations and all that kind of thing. But pretty much, you should feel at ease. I think any type of practitioner or therapist that's working with you, you should feel really comfortable. Not only physically comfortable, but just interpersonally comfortable, that you're in safe hands. And he or she should spend some time telling you about what's going to happen and reassure you that you're in control at all times.
Right.
And if it's something that you don't want to do, that's it. You just, come out of it. And so they'll probably spend some time talking with you about it, then relaxing you. Sometimes they do that somatically with your body, and sometimes they just do that with suggestions saying you're feeling very comfortable. And then, depending on who you're working with, they may suggest going, through a tunnel or on a cloud. Dolores Cannon works with clouds a lot, and or going through a doorway. There are many different types of techniques or things that you can use to bridge into another time. So that, and generally, then it's the therapist or the practitioner's done, and you're taking over by just talking about what you're experiencing.
Like you're telling a story.
Right. And you'll tell the story or you'll share your experiences for a while, and then you'll come out of it. You'll feel hopefully very refreshed and relaxed. And you'll spend some time hopefully talking with the therapist or practitioner about what you experienced.
So is it as if they're having a memory almost, when they're speaking? It's almost, does it come like, when you're trying to recall something in regular life? Is it like that?
It is like that. I think it's more of an experience than a recollection, only because I think the really compelling thing about past life experiences are their experiences. You are actually feeling some of the emotion, and it can be quite intense at times, or it can be very fun or funny. Sometimes people laugh. They have a really great memory or experience that they're relaying, and it's different for everybody, so it's hard to generalize. But typically, it's people. After a while, if you practice, you get better. Like you practice anything, you get better at it. You practice remembering your dreams, you're going to get better at it. So if you just practice, you can start really understanding how you work, how your mind works, and work with the process, and it gets easier and easier. And I think it becomes more spontaneous as well.
Okay.
Like memory.
Like a memory. Now, what are the benefits of it?
There are lots of benefits of it. But first of all, it's just a relaxing technique, and you're learning more about yourself as you're doing it. Stuff is bubbling up from places you weren't really sure that you had that in you or whatever, or thoughts. And I think that's interesting, to just learn what did I come up with, what did I say, what happened during that experience. And it does get easier, and so there's that. But people do it a lot of times, not only because they're curious, but because they have a pain that they don't know, my knee hurts, I never heard it, it's not arthritis, I don't know what this is, or a symptom. I learned about peanut sensitivity that I had all my life, had no idea until I did a past life regression in a Brian Weiss workshop.
Right.
And I learned all about that. So you can learn about addictions, you can learn about problematic relationships, phobias, fears, anxiety.
So when you say learn about it, you mean what could possibly be the cause of it?
Right.
Something that happened to you in a past life, and that it kind of carries over to this life.
Absolutely.
That's what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it may not even be something you're looking for per se. I know once I've always had a sort of don't like things blowing on me, and I had a past life regression, and I had a memory of, and I connected it right away. I wasn't even thinking about that, and I thought, hey, maybe that's why I've never liked that, experience, is because I had a negative thing happen to me in a past life.
So kind of like if people have, they can't explain why, but they have a fear of water.
Right.
And they don't know why, because they have,
right.
They grew up on a beach or something like that, but for some reason they're afraid of water. It's not like they almost drowned. So if a past life experience, if it comes out, that they had a very negative experience with water, then what does that do once they come back, out of the hypnosis, and they recall it, they remember it, and then the practitioner discusses it with them? What does that do for them?
Well, I think the really neat thing about past life is that you're getting perspective from a distance. You're getting some distance from the material. And even though you may be experiencing it and feeling it and emoting from that experience, it's not you. anymore. You're someone else now. And so I think that that gives you some distance to really look at an experience. And I think if you're working with someone who's very compassionate and skilled, that they can help you work that through, just like talk therapy then, and talk about that experience. And clearly, if that happened to you, you survived by coming back. So I think it helps you build in some resilience as well as perspective.
Okay, so my next question was, what does it have to do with someone's life today? And I think you're answering that, and
Yes.
it helps give them perspective if they're having an issue.
I think so too, and I think as well, we tend to. The theory is that we keep coming back again and again with the same people, different maybe roles that they're playing. Maybe someone who's your boss now is your son in a past life or something like that. So I think it gives perspective that way as well. Is that, you know, we're all here and we're all coexisting, and some of the conflicts that arise, there's more to it than maybe meets the eye. You know, if you've ever met somebody, you kind of didn't like them right away, but you didn't know why, or you really liked them and you didn't know why, and you know, it sheds some light on, possibly shed some light on those kinds of relationships. But I think it gives a person so much to think about, and I think that that really helps in all relationships. And I think that it can bring in a lot of relevance to what you're experiencing, conflicts as well as successes and things like that, gifts that you might have.
And I can see that, because say we have an unexplainable fear, we can just be so down on ourselves and critical of ourselves. And it might be a very simple explanation if you are into this, that it could be a past life, and it's like, oh, okay, that's why, and then off it goes. It's like there's nothing wrong with you. It's just something you had in the past.
Right, and that speaks about acceptance. You know, really accepting who you are and what you've been through and all the things that you've experienced, past lives as well as this life.
Right, and we should explain too, when you're saying past life and then knowing other people in this life and past life, it's our souls we're talking about, not necessarily, it's not this physical body. It's just our souls coming in.
That would be the piece that's continuing. Right?
So now the other thing is too, I imagine you don't want people to get, I mean, do people ever get stuck in it? I mean, you wouldn't want people to be, oh, I was a wealthy king in another life, so I guess I'm doomed to be in debt in this life or something. I mean, it's not for excuses, it's to help people lift themselves up.
I think so too. I think you see that when you've done a lot of past life regressions. You see that people flip-flop. You know, one lifetime they could be a Red Sox fan, the next time a Yankees fan. You know, and even bigger issues than that. So I think we flip-flop, being female, male, husband, wife, lord, and servant, and all those things. So I think that gives you great perspective. It gives the soul. Imagine a soul having all these different diverse experiences and really learning who their core entity is through these experiences. I think that's maybe what happens. But
so it's really our soul at the core of who we are, having all these different experiences, but we always stay the same. Our soul is always the same.
That's what I believe, and that's what many people believe who do this work and who've had these experiences.
Right, so interesting. All right, so people must ask you all the time, like, how do I know this is real and I'm not making it up? And people must think they're just making it up.
Well, it kind of feels that way, you know, because if you're not used to something, you know, when you're riding a bike, you feel like, oh, I can't do this, or learning how to drive a stick. You know, it's very mechanical at first, and it's kind of a little bumpy whenever you're learning a new skill. So this is really a skill that people can learn, just like remembering your dreams and things like that. So yeah, it might feel that way. For some people, no, they just go right into it, and it's just gorgeous the way it comes out.
It makes sense to them right away.
That was not my experience. My experience was, it took me a while, and I felt like I was making it up. But if you can quiet that part of your mind that is the critic, and just go with the experience and just see what unfolds. And you know, at first it was sort of like I was like, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing in this past life regression? And then I feel like I'm on a boat. I kind of feel like I'm on a boat. And then I just kind of just go with that, feeling like you're on a boat. And then what happens? And you also have a therapist or a practitioner with you if you're doing it with somebody, which helps initially.
I'm sure it does, yeah.
But you don't have to elicit some of these things and to just help you along and say, you know, what kind of a day is it? It's a hot day. You know, and you just come up with these answers. And you're like, where did that come from? And I think it feels like a creative process, but I think it's actually something very different. I'm not really sure what it is, but
something in the mind, huh?
Yeah, there's all different.
Something deep in the mind.
They're all different kinds of memories. There's all different ways we code things and process things, and so this is. It will feel like that to some people initially.
Okay. Now, is it ever negative? You know, is there ever anybody ever had a negative experience? Or?
Well, sure. I mean, I think the first time I did it, I had a very vivid, intense experience, and it wasn't harmful in any way. It just was like, wow, I have to think about that, and I felt like I wanted to talk to somebody about it a little bit because it was so intense. So that can happen, and that's why often it's great if you're new at this to be with someone you really trust, who's caring, you know, who's skilled and compassionate, and because you can really explore that with them if anything feels uncomfortable. But you can also set the intention to have only positive past life experiences, and I think then of course you're always in control, so that's what will come up. But you know, really the benefits far outweigh any negatives that I could try to come up with.
Sure.
And
well, therapy in itself is
helpful.
It is helpful, and it can be tough, and it can be challenging, and so because you are dealing with things, so that makes sense, and so and you are a therapist, and this is, like you said, a technique, and this is a technique that people can use. All right, now I want to comment. Your name of your business is Heart and Soul Therapy, and you say on your website, and I'm quoting, Heart and Soul Therapy is therapy which mends your heart by honoring and respecting you as a soul. So that really sounds beautiful. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, I was trying to think about, I used to say I did supportive therapy, and my therapy is largely supportive. And then it really wasn't getting to the heart of it, no pun intended, but I felt like there was more, and I think we can all learn about what we're doing in our lives and who we are and all of that, and learn about the relationships we have and what's important to us, and that's important. And there's this other piece, though, of us that whether it resonates with you or not, there's often another piece that's a little bit deeper about what are we doing here, and what do we mean to each other, and how we're all connected, and that's the soul part. So Heart and Soul Therapy for me is it's a way to get more connected to my clients in a way that is very meaningful to them, and also always with dignity and non-judgment, and because what good does that do, telling someone they're doing something wrong or poorly, or it's to lift them up and to encourage them to do more in their life and to help others and to help themselves.
Well, and people, when they put themselves out there to get help, they're really in a very vulnerable position. So any practitioner in any field really does need to respect that. So absolutely, I think you're bringing up really great points, that if someone is with a practitioner that is not respecting them or not compassionate, that it's just time to move on, because there are good people out there for sure.
I agree.
Now, tell me, how would you define spirituality?
Well, like everything, if you say what's love or whatever, I think people are going to have different spins on it. For me, it's really about a depth of connection. When I was growing up, there was a background of religion. It was very background, and I just always wanted more, and always had more questions, was always curious, and so I started to do a lot of research and a lot of soul searching, and talked with people, talked with friends with different religions and things like that, and nothing really seemed to click until I started putting it all together myself with my own feeling about what more there could be to all of this. And for me, it's sort of still undefined. It's not a thing I can really hone in on, but it's just sort of this knowing that there is something more that connects all of us to each other.
Valerie, thank you. Thank you. This has
Thank
been a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming on
My pleasure.
and telling us all about past life regression therapy. Now, you can learn more about Valerie by going on her website at valeriekeating.com. Also, if you know someone who would like to watch the show, it'll be shown again on this channel, or they can go to youtube.com and simply type in my name in the search and all the past shows will come on. I want to thank you for watching. This has been Spiritual Invitation. I'm your host, Carla Augustyn, inviting you to explore spirituality.